Alright guys, Marc here, bringing you today's bonus episode featuring my chat over Zoom with Reginald D Hunter. Reg is up performing at the Glasgow Comedy Festival on Friday the 29th of March at the O2 Academy. We show The Man Who Could See Through Shit, and it was great to chat to him. I'd like to thank the Glasgow Comedy Festival for setting it up. Obviously in lieu of him being able to come into the studio here, we had a nice chat over Zoom, and for release as a bonus episode for you guys to enjoy. As well as obviously Reggie's show, we of course ourselves as the podcast are doing our next Some Laugh live show on Sunday the 31st of March at the Pavilion Theatre in Glasgow. And if you've not seen already, we just released announced our headline guest for the evening, which will be none other than Still Game and Tune the Fact creator and star Greg Hempel. Greg will be back joining us once again. He had a brilliant episode with us back in episode 35, and we're delighted to have him back alongside the guests already announced, namely Some Laugh favourites Chris MacArthur Boyd and Raymond Mearns. It's going to be a cracking night. We've got a few more surprises in store for you and some fantastic things lined up, so please do get your tickets if you haven't already. And just as ever, you can also sign up to our Patreon for as little as £3 a month and get access to an extra episode every 2 weeks, plus bonus content from all our previous live shows and first dibs on tickets for upcoming shows and wee secret stand-up shows, etc. that we sometimes do. So hopefully see you on the Patreon. We very much look forward to see you at the Pavilion, and hope you enjoy today's chat with Reg D Hunter. I was on the same gig as you in London last year, but I think it was top secret, so it was like,
yeah,
I was on in the first section, and so I just kind of stuck around in the
that's the
upstairs
name of
bit
the
to
gig,
watch your
everybody.
set.
That's the name of the show. Top Secret is the show.
Because I think that would have probably been about May last year, and I assume that was you
Yeah,
maybe starting to work up stuff for this tour.
yeah,
Is that right?
that's true, man. I did something. I did something out of the ordinary for myself. Last year, rather than go to the Edinburgh show with a show to present, I went to build a show instead, and so I'll be going back this year to show my work, so to speak. Yeah, put your pencils down. So yeah, it's been quite a ride, and I'm pleased with where it's gotten.
Aye, so you done a work in progress at the Fringe last year, then you're
Yeah,
you're
that
touring
was
it
that
and then
was
taking it back to Edinburgh.
that was the whole yeah that was the whole 2 weeks was a work in progress, and there was some nights it was dire. I mean, I mean, my agent came to one show and it was like we were in the taxi on the way back, and I heard her, Sally, hold off the press for another 2 days, and it was like that's not a good sign. And and, and I was the third night. I was 45 minutes in, and I did another joke that went over lukewarmly, and it had to be a long-term fan of mine. I heard a guy in the back go, "Oh, Reggie." Oh, Reg. Oh.
That's the thing though, there's no getting away for that process though, is there, of just sort of trying to, like, obviously just trying to get stuff working, and I suppose Edinburgh's a great opportunity to just be able to do so many shows in a row to work stuff up. And
Well, it also keeps the fire under you. You know, it's like if I was starting a show just doing like new material nights and stuff like that, I might half-ass it some days. You know, I mean, like, yeah, I'll just go from last night's notes, and yeah, but no, Edinburgh makes you get up and write every day, especially because those ass whoopings hurt. It's like
that's
the
it, you don't
first
want to.
rule number one: how do I stop my ass from hurting like this again?
And what is that process for you then, Reg? So see when that's the case, will you just spend the day just working on the stuff and making it better? Do you listen back to the shows? What is that process for you?
We record every show, well, most shows anyway, and that's a big part of it. Sitting and I hate doing it. I really hate doing it. It's unpleasant to watch myself. But it's so useful because it's like, oh, that idea could actually go with that one that comes later, and that can be one routine. And, you can do things like that, and you can be like, wow, I played to the left side more than my right. I need to get a man on that.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, there's always a handful of jokes that when I write them, I'm pissing myself as I write them. And it's like they do nothing for the audience. Nothing. It's like, okay, well, I guess we'll go again with what you like.
I've heard you in interviews talk about that, like it's almost like describing kind of writing process and stuff is the accident of invention,
Yeah,
and is
you
that just
know,
sometimes kind of what you're kind of trying, you just sort of stumble across it sort of thing?
yeah, you bounce it. It's there's so many things to comment on the world. I mean, just happening at the moment. But everybody has a certain reticence on comment about certain things,
Yeah.
and when you find a way, that's one thing I love about British company. It's like, you find your way, find a way of not necessarily being in your face, but still managing to get your point across. I like that about Britain. And
That's well. That was I think you kind of talked about that in your Live at the Apollo set. It was the
mm,
first one, and it was about a lot of the kind of like the subtleties of of kind of like British way of speaking and stuff like that. And I think obviously like in terms of like all the telly stuff you've done here and became kind of household name sort of thing. I was interested in your experience of that in terms of like do you see any difference like between like kind of the sense of humor in Britain versus America? And also, what I'm curious about is, see, because you've kind of established yourself here in the UK, what is the experience for you like when you gig in the States?
oh, well, which one of those is your favorite, young man?
Let's go for the second one.
Okay. Um, it's always weird when I go gig in the States. It's sort of different. It's sort of a different game over there. Most times when I've gone, well, every time I've gone over there to do stand up, I've gone under the radar. It's like I didn't come in like, well, I'm this over there, so you need none of that. You
Yeah.
to get along in the business, you have to know how to at least appear to be naturally matriculated. But sometimes promoters, well, I found over there, unlike over here, sometimes promoters can talk real kind of short with their comedians. Like it's, and then maybe it's that aspect of being over here for so long. But I remember several times thinking to myself, well, I don't like being spoken to like this. In fact, I'm not sure I care for this very much. Um, but then every now and again, what's nice for me is that sometimes, like, my name doesn't ring out in America, but amongst comedians, and every now and again, you'll be on a bill with someone during a gig in the States, and a young comic come up to you and he'll say, "Are you Reginald D Hunter, London Reginald D Hunter?" And you go, "Yeah," he'll be like, "Yeah, man, you good, man, you good." It's like, oh, it's nice. It's nice when the young cats come tell you that you have game,
Absolutely. Well, that's certainly what you do, Reg. And in terms of the audience, look, because like obviously, I suppose I always think that's about Scottish comics when they're in London and stuff. Sometimes you kind of need to almost play to English people's idea of a Scottish person. And do
Mm.
you feel like because partly you're playing to a British audience, being an American, so then when you're in America, how do you need to cater your material at all, or is it just a case of kind of like
Well,
is it a bit
I
easier?
mean, if I think I play my Americanness on stage because I still feel American, and I feel like if I tried to appear more British, there would be something fraudulent about that, and obviously fraudulent. That's more to the point, blatantly
Mhm.
fraudulent. So people ask me that kind of question all the time, and I don't know. I guess if you don't be in the game after a while and you've been doing it for in many places for as long as I have, you're just going to end up being you. Just whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, yep, you walk into a theater and you like everyone knows their job. We all know how this goes. Let's get to it.
You were mentioning obviously about Edinburgh. Now, as you well know, Reg, with Edinburgh, it's not always necessarily, particularly the Fringe, it's not always necessarily a Scottish audience you're playing to in Edinburgh. But you're up obviously doing the Glasgow Festival 29th of March. And so I'm just curious about your experience of playing Glasgow and Scottish crowds in general.
First time I played anywhere in Scotland, I played a place called Paisley. And I don't know what it is today, but it was pretty rough yesterday. And- but I remember I played this little bar, and it's like, there's drunk guys in the audience at the tables, and they're like, "Great." who is this? You know, and it's like, but they get it. It's like if you win, you win. You know, you get a chance. They give you a chance. You know, they'll listen for 5 minutes to see if you're full of shit or not. You know, and if you can hold their attention, and I managed to get them that night. But then at the same time, I've been told such a bad reputation about Paisley. It's just like just before I went to Brixton. All the white people I knew in London kept going, "Don't go to Brixton, don't go to Brixton. Whatever you do, don't go to Brixton." And then it's like when I finally went, it was like I'm going in now. And then I got there, and it was like lots of nice black people and chicken and weed. Well, I've seen that before. I like going. I like going northernmost Scotland. There was a comedian who once, I can't remember who it was, but he had this joke about Glasgow. He says, "I love going to Glasgow. I love to go where the word glass is a verb."
That's even more true in Paisley, actually, as well.
Oh man, Paisley, the next generation. I should go.
It's not actually far from where I am at the moment, but I've always thought the thing about Paisley, I've always said it's like Glasgow's Texas, right? Because it's like it's in the south, it's south of the river, so it's like south. It's quite vast, and a lot of people get shot there. So it's like
You're in trouble with like Texas when Paisley starts wanting to be its own country.
a thing that you've said a few times that I really love hearing about in terms of comedy is like you've said that what you're looking for again in these kind of work in progress type of shows is you're looking for that thunderbolt,
Yeah.
that kind of idea. And can you explain a wee bit about what that is for you?
It's sort of like playing chess in a way. And it's like you get through the first stage of the game, you position yourself, and then you make your move in the middle game, and somewhere just into the end game, you can see a line. You can see how to win in 8 moves. When that hits, it's like, oh, I do these, and they'll just take me right on out. And it also helps when you get the bare bones of a show. Um, it's like, okay, so I know what my central points are. Okay, I can start hanging stuff off of this line. And then that's when you're really free to take chances. And I feel like I've just recently hit this point with my show. I'm able to take some really big chances now. And because you gotta have something in your back pocket, to get you out of a jam sometime,
Oh, absolutely, 100%. And obviously, so your show is called The Man Who Could See Through Shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It doesn't make people laugh as much as it makes me laugh. Well, it made me laugh, and I tried for 5 years to get my agent to agree to this. Finally, like, oh, well, we are post-pandemic, I guess.
that's it. Well, not because they don't like a swear word, don't they, in the brochures and all these type of things, do they? So it's good to see you got that one through. And obviously in the blurb for it, it's kind of referencing that Lucille Hunter quote about it's easy to see through shit. The hard part is pretending that you haven't.
Yeah.
And obviously in terms of that kind of thing and seeing through shit, and I suppose basically it's kind of like comedy, it's kind of social commentary. And I was just wondering what your thoughts on that one now, because obviously you, as you say, you've been in the game for a good while, and wonder do you find that kind of comedy like doing kind of social commentary and that type of thing is it
You know
more
what?
difficult in this kind of
No,
day and
man,
age?
that's the best question I've been asked by anybody for a few weeks. Thank you.
Oh well, that's very kind of you.
It's something that's been on my mind actually. So you just
Right.
happened. Yeah, I was thinking about this recently. I grew up watching social commentary stand up. I fell in love with social commentary stand up. I wanted to be a social commentary stand up. And now social commentary feels as more fraught than it ever has before to me. Yeah, that. It just feels, and I'm not trying to over sensationalize anything because, I'm, I think there's a bit too much being made up about the woke mafia destroying careers. It's become a
Yeah.
bit of a boogeyman to me.
Yeah.
Um, but one of the things that makes social commentary difficult in stand-up now is, unlike say 20 years ago, people have so many varying sources of information now and so many
Yes.
varying views. And, someone can get really upset about an obscure subject that you think you're clear on. But, it's like, I remember once years ago, I did a little TV thing and it was awful. And I said to my agent, I said, I hope nobody saw it. It's on at 4 o'clock in the morning. And she said, if it's on TV, somebody saw it.
But that's actually one of the things that's maybe changed a wee bit as well. Like, not necessarily these days, like.
Well, it's starting to feel like TV and radio are not necessarily the best places to advertise TV, advertise shows anymore. And you hear about, established newspapers and magazines starting to close down now and things, and it seems to be more rangy now. Like the best ways to go about plugging your show these 6 months may change in 6 months. It seems like a lot of things are in flux still.
Definitely. I think influx is a brilliant way of putting it. And it's like certainly for our side of things, we obviously put out our clips on social media and that thing, and you're always sort of chasing the algorithm now. But to back to your point about where people get their information, what that means is that everybody's just in their own wee sort of rabbit holes, and getting different information. No one's singing from the same hymn sheet, I suppose, these days.
So, I mean, I had a girlfriend once. And somebody was talking to us about Morecambe and Wise getting 25 million views at Christmas. And when they walked away, she said there were two fucking channels at the time. Two.
Not as much competition for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of competition for people's attention, and it seems like the best way to become really famous now and quickly is to become notorious. And
Yeah.
so I've had days when I've wondered to myself, what minor crime could I possibly commit that I wouldn't do a lot of time for? Like the traffic warden, snatch their meter and run off, or something. I go on a crusade like that,
It's very funny you mention that because I caught the traffic warden giving my car a ticket the other day, and I was not too pleased about it. And then you notice they've got those wee dash cams, and then part of me was like, God, that'd be terrible if that footage got out. But then I was also like, maybe it would help.
I look at sometimes now, what I've allowed my life to become around stand-up, the friendships and connections, even with family that I've missed out on over time. And I ask
Yeah.
myself, did I pay too much, or, and I do miss driving, but I never started driving in Britain. And to date, I don't regret it. When I was deciding whether or not I was going to do it, it was like, I just noticed all my friends who did drive. And I don't like stuff that stresses me. And all my friends would turn up cranky, and and it's like it's an adventure finding parking in London, and it's just oh, I love driving at home. I miss driving at home. You got long straight streets, you get a lot of thinking time done there. You can just cruise. I just don't see the point of having a luxury car in London or a hot
No.
rod.
How does that affect you when you're on the road here, though? Because obviously the trains have been a bit fucked the last few years and all that sort of stuff. And it's, but I guess the thing about it is it's like it does give you that time to think and all that. If you're on, like a 5 hour train journey or a flight or whatever you're doing. So do you kind of use that time when you're on the road and not driving or behind a wheel to sort of
I don't
kind of
drive.
just ponder stuff?
I don't drive, but I have a road dog. My
Oh,
road,
I see.
yeah. If you're gonna tour, man, I don't care if you have a lot of people with you. You need at least one road dog, man.
Yeah.
And my road dog, has a car.
That's a great show because it's a weird thing because I'm just at the stage in the last couple of years where I've started doing my own solo shows and stuff like that after years of doing the circuit, and it's funny how quickly you start to miss just being around a few other people and sharing that kind of
Yeah.
camaraderie. Did
It's
you
one
find
of
that as well?
one of the things I miss about being on the circuit. It's like I sort of came up in the same class of comedians with Frankie Boyle, Jimmy Carr, and just we would all see each other, Andrew Maxwell, Glenn Wool, Steve Hughes.
Yeah.
And during those days, it was like every weekend I'm working with one of those guys. And it
Yeah.
could be Glasgow, it could be Dubai. And it's like and and then all of a sudden it's like people go, hey, you've done really well. go in this room and do it. And it's just you. And you don't get to see
Absolutely.
anybody else. And, yeah. We don't get to, I think to a degree, we all made each other funnier because, you're sitting around waiting in the dressing room and just, people start telling stuff and it just creates a field of energy that just, and then somebody will say a punchline and there'll be an awkward moment of tension. And then somebody's going to go, we're all looking like, who's going to claim that one? I mean, I didn't say it, but I started the idea.
That's that's the trouble about the podcast now as well. If you have a kind of wee chat like that, and it's all recorded, and then and then you use it in your stand up, there'll be somebody going, "You just fucking said that on the podcast."
Hey man, you got to get them for wherever you can get them, man. As long as you don't steal them, or get caught stealing
Absolutely.
them, I guess.
And I'm interested in that. And so like you're talking about obviously about kind of like almost the sort of path to sort of raise your trajectory these days is kind of notoriety. In terms of your act in this show, like is there any like have you been tempted to kind of dip your toe in that a wee bit? Are you thinking about that a lot when you're doing the bits and or even how you would maybe go about like filming it or putting it online or anything like that?
There's a lot of that thought going around. In fact, we put a move underway to hopefully get something streamed by the end of this year, early next year. Last time I filmed something to put out was about 10 years ago. So that's 10 years of practice. So
Yeah.
I should be able to put something together out of that.
I look forward to it, man, for sure.
And thank you.
I also heard you talking in an interview. Something that really struck home to me is you're just talking about kind of comics in general and how sometimes you kind of need to be a bit punched in the face by life and then get up and be funny, following on from it. Um, and I know that you've spoke about your mum passing away and things like that. And I know that it was a bit of a difficult time for a while after that. Where are you with all that now? And do you and just I just thought it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on just kind of like dealing with start harder things in your life and how you sort of process that into your comedy.
Well, the heaviness of my parents' death has shifted. I think about them regularly, but with a bit of missing them and pleasant memory. It's like lucky to have known them.
Yeah.
um, but at the moment, my soul isn't aching with anything in particular. I don't want to say that too loud to tempt fate. You don't want fate to look down and go, somebody sounds like they need some cancer. So, but at the moment, I ain't mad at nobody. If anybody's severely mad at me, I'm not aware of it. Which is nearly as good. And I mean, there are things that vex me. I mean, there are things. I mean, yeah, there are things that I don't like, but there's no choice you make is a shit-free existence. There's no shit-free existence.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. And it's just occurred to me there because I think my sensibilities as a comic are more I do like to talk more about the world than maybe myself. You hear that thing, it's like you're either a weird guy in a normal world, a normal guy in a weird world. I've always thought the world's a lot weirder than me, you know. But I did do a show like my mum actually passed away a few years ago in last
Oh man.
Edinburgh. I just spoke about that a wee bit, and I was glad I'd done it, and I think it would have been weirder not to have. But I'm now just kind of putting that behind me and starting to work up stuff again, and I'm really relishing sort of going back to again try to think up takes on stuff that's going on in the world and everything that's happening right now. But I do wonder as well. Like I think sometimes you kind of need to be in a bit of a kind of good place, I suppose, to be able to kind of comfortably and confidently sort of maybe set your sights at what's going on externally in the world, and otherwise, I suppose maybe the stuff you've not dealt with kind of comes out a wee bit in that. I don't know.
Um, I certainly think you need a stable place. Um, you need consistency. You need to some degree routine, and just Um, but then you need to be shook up every now and again too. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna do this, if you if you're gonna explore new ideas or take new chances, yeah, you got to get shook up sometimes. So, and especially during my younger years, I always thought I knew what was good for me, and often I was wrong. But oftentimes I was lucky enough to bump into or be directed to what was actually good for me. And so, what's the old sign say? The first two major lessons of life are kind of make it up as you go along, man. There's no, there's no step. Keep living. Number one, try to keep living.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear about your mom, and
Oh, that's all right, man.
I remember when my mom died, I was like, first thing I thought was, our family, who's going to police us? Because she was the police. She was the family police.
Yeah.
And there's not a day that goes by when I don't think about something she said and think, bitch was right about that too.
Yeah, it's amazing how much you sort of you start to see things from their perspective the longer they're away, and you go, oh fuck, like I used to think my mum was harsh on my dad. Now I'm like, I don't think she was harsh enough, man. Like,
Oh man, I know about my mom was really harsh on my dad. It was just, and I used to think, oh mom, why don't you ease up? Maybe that's why he stays away drinking for days. Maybe if you were nicer, he would drink less and come home.
oh no.
Oh yeah. And not knowing a kid not knowing what he was talking about. Just and looking back, how angry how she was, it probably was not a tenth as how much she was holding back. You know, it's probably
Yeah,
it's just she just let that what looked like a big deal to me was like her letting out a little bit because she couldn't help it.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
I heard you saying that you actually had you did do a gig the night that she passed, your mum.
yeah.
Wow, I could only imagine.
My first tour gig ever. I was on
Oh,
the, I
was
was
it?
on, I was on the train, London to Brighton, and I was halfway there, and my brother called me. I don't even remember the gig. I don't remember at one
Oh
moment
man,
from the show. I just,
yeah, I know. And but you just had to go through with it.
I turned up to I mean, I was kind of in a numb state, leaving the train station, going to the venue, and I was thinking about canceling. And when I got there, the venue manager said, "We've already been called about your mom. We're totally cool with you canceling." And
Yeah.
I swear, all of a sudden, I saw my mom in my mind goes, "I fucking dare you."
Wow.
She was like that, and I hope I don't sound like I'm making it sound like her spiritual being made me do what I wanted to do in the first place. But I really sit there for a moment, searching in my mind, trying to think what was appropriate or I wasn't sure how good I'd be, but then I just saw that image and I was like, I fucking dare you.
Obviously, as I say, you're on Friday 29th of March at the O2 Academy in Glasgow. Is there anything, this, I probably hate this kind of question, but is there anything like, what can people expect from the show, I suppose is,
Well, it's gonna be a minute before between here and the show,
yeah,
and the show is already dangerous. It's just got properly dangerous in the last week. And it's just so between now and the date of the show, March 29th. I mean, I'm not gonna make no projections or nothing. I just that's just extra time to make it more dangerous, man. I don't know, man. I reached that point where I actually have way more jokes than show now, and a comedian walk different when he got something in his back pocket. He walk
yeah.
different.
Oh, aye, that's it. That thing when you just said something that's killed them and you're like, but wait till you hear this next thing.
Oh, what I'm gonna do to you.
Brilliant. I think that's a lovely place to end it. Reg, well, thank you. Thanks so much for that. Again, obviously, Reg D Hunter, the man who can see through shit, O2 Academy in Glasgow on Friday, 24th of March. 29th of March, sorry. But what the hell, nearly was professional there for a second. But
Thank you, young
tickets
man.
still available.
You're as cool as the other side of the pillow. Talk another time.
Ah, Thank you very much, Reg. Take it easy. All the best, man.